How and when was Berlin first settled? And how did its first residents live? For a long time, little was known about Berlin's earliest days, but now the city is digging up its hidden past. Archaeologists are bringing its last secrets to light. So what are they discovering, and what does this elk have to do with it? And why are the earliest Berliners being reinterred? The answers are coming up. Near the Berlin television tower yawns a gigantic hole in the center of the city. For the past 6 years, archaeologists have been digging here in an area called Molkenmarkt, the city's oldest square. And this is Berlin's Indiana Jones, Eberhard Volker, the project director of the huge dig. It was right here beneath his feet that Berlin was born in the Middle Ages, some 800 years ago.
We're in the middle of Berlin, but at the same time at an archaeological dig, and also in the nucleus of medieval Berlin. Here in this place were the first traces of the medieval settlers.
Now, archaeologists are bringing medieval Berlin to light as they dig up an unknown aspect of the metropolis across an area measuring 25,000 square meters.
This is very favourable ground. The sand that's typical for this region is dry and provides a secure foundation. Being near the Spree River is very important because trade and commerce were primarily conducted via the waterways.
Below the asphalt sits a sealed-off underworld. It was there that a clay figure some 500 years old was uncovered, depicting Saint Catherine, a Christian martyr. She was tortured on a wheel and beheaded with a sword for evangelizing the Christian faith. This statue once stood on a house altar to protect Berliners. Some 100 years ago, Berlin's center still looked like this. Narrow streets, cramped buildings with small rear courtyards, similar to medieval villages. In April 1945, in the final weeks of World War II, the battle for Berlin rages. Aerial bombs, fires, tanks, infantry, until the Allies liberate the city from the Nazi regime. On May 8th, Germany surrenders. What remains is pure destruction, and in some cases only ruins remain of the small streets and houses in Berlin city center. We'll see later what that means for archaeologists today. Now excavations are underway, and every meter dug down takes the archaeologists centuries into the past. Over time, rubble was repeatedly piled up, especially after fires, resulting in the city's ground level growing by 4 meters since the Middle Ages.
And once we've gone down more than 2 meters, 2.5 meters deeper, we're standing on a cellar floor from around 1900. And if we remove these cellar floors, because we want to see what's underneath, then we go down another level, and also a little further back in time.
4 meters down, we're in the Middle Ages, but it's barely recognizable, requiring a trained eye.
We've just uncovered a medieval well here. I can see a wooden structure. We've already taken a sample of the wood and are having it examined. That means the growth rings will be counted, which will give us information about when the wood used here was felled.
There, deep underground, archaeologists also find a hoard of silver dinar coins. A craftsman's wages? Did the money slip out of his pocket when he had one too many cups of wine? Did an argument break out? We can only speculate. The old city hall in Berlin, next to the excavation site. We accompany Eberhard Volker into the inner sanctum, down into the basement, closed to the public. This is where archaeologists examine the treasures they've found. Even the smallest, most mundane objects from the Middle Ages. Some things have to be kept refrigerated.
This is where mainly organic materials are temporarily stored. Anything that belongs in a refrigerator, including eggshells. You can still see that quite clearly here in this bag. They are fragmented here. What's in this bag are macrobiological remains, seeds from fruits, stone fruits, acorns. Everything that was on the menu in the Middle Ages.
Does digging things up ever release dangerous substances from the soil, like plague bacteria?
There are no viruses or bacteria that can still be transmitted to humans today.
Stored not in a refrigerator but safely in a vault is an item of almost immeasurable value. A gold garnet ring, a medieval find from a well.
And how did it end up in the well? It probably just slipped off someone's hand while they were drawing water.
It isn't known whether this rare item belonged to a woman, as men also wore rings in the Middle Ages. A total of 700,000 finds have been discovered so far, everyday objects belonging to ordinary people, not princes or kings. Like this grey pottery with traces of soot still visible.
And that's cookware. It was placed on open fires or on the stove, and food was prepared in it. And apparently, when it went out of fashion, it was thrown away because it's still intact.
Archaeologists also found this tableware, but in a latrine, a medieval toilet. You can still smell it sometimes, even after 800 years. Sealed in moist feces, which are low in oxygen, things last forever.
Every single find is like a black box because you never know what's inside, but it's always full and there are always surprises.
Back to the dig site. In addition to latrines, there are disused wells that also served as garbage dumps in the Middle Ages, where the food scraps of the original Berliners can be found.
Freshly dug up. What you see here is a lower jawbone, essentially food remains from the Middle Ages. There are some curious examples. Sheep brains were particularly popular in the 14th century. We can see this from the sheep's heads, where it is still clearly visible that the tops of the skulls, the calottes, were sawn open, and then the brains were eagerly consumed.
It wasn't just World War II that reshaped the city. After the war, Berlin's center became the capital of the German Democratic Republic. The state wanted to eliminate the past and designed a new city center in the socialist spirit, purely functional. Farewell to the Middle Ages.
Socialist urban planning radically eradicated old structures, simply laid down roads and created large open spaces, such as what we now know as Marx Engels Forum. This initially made it impossible to recognize any traces of the old city structure.
That's a tragic loss, according to Matthias Wemhoff, Berlin's foremost archaeologist and director of the Museum of Prehistory and Early History. His museum houses the most spectacular finds. Like the sarcophagus of a commander in the 30 Years' War, dug out of the Berlin soil. Or a brick with a handprint, a demon stone meant to ward off spirits. And oddities such as false teeth or an enormous gallstone. All of it helps to illuminate the lost history of Berlin and its inhabitants.
There's definitely a gap there. I believe you have to know your beginnings, and a city must also have a beginning, a center. It must know where it was founded and how it came into being. You can't ignore this longest period of history. We're talking about 600 years that are no longer visible in the cityscape. Archaeology is the key to understanding these beginnings.
Back to the Molkenmarkt dig site, where it's clear what World War II has left behind for today's archaeologists. Everyday objects from 20th century history. Rotary dial telephones, sewing machines, and old irons. There are only 2 more years to uncover the past. Then it will all be filled in again and buildings with hundreds of apartments built on the site. So the archaeologists don't have much time to recover the buried treasures, but they already have an attractive new home for their finds. Just a few hundred meters from the dig site is PETRI, a museum, open workshop, and cemetery all in one. It is itself located on historic ground. On the foundation walls of a medieval Latin school and St. Peter's Church, which burned down after being struck by lightning and was rebuilt several times. PETRI's mascot is a bear licking honey off a paw. The statue was also found at Molkenmarkt. One side has been restored, the other deliberately left as it was when it came out of the ground.
Our motto is Discover Archaeology. We want to encourage people to understand our work and processes and to try it out for themselves.
At PETRI, conservators work in open workshops, observable through the windows. The first stop is fines processing, where toothbrush meets goat bone.
Every dig has something special in it. I'm lucky enough to see everything from the dig, and it's the combination of time period and material. Sometimes you can get really excited about a tiny inconspicuous shard because there's nothing else to go on. So they're not even gold treasures, they're more like curiosities. Whether they're crocodile scales, miniature vessels, or very special little personal items belonging to people, such as fingerprints on pottery.
One floor up are the restorers, who deal with all kinds of materials. Ceramics, iron, or challenging organic materials like leather. If it gets exposed to the air, it could be damaged.
The problem with this material is if it suddenly comes out and evaporates uncontrollably. The leather would shrink, become tangled, stick together, and become rock hard, and would then no longer be legible. And very often they find leather that looks like this, which is not very appetizing. And the next step would be to make this material manageable, because they cannot examine it in this state.
First a lump of dirt, then after restoration, a child's shoe, typical of the Middle Ages. PETRI provides insight into a fascinating subject. Whether ceramics or leather, everything is treated with the utmost care here, especially human bones. Flowers and a Latin inscription in the basement. May the angels guide you to paradise. To whom is it addressed? Summer 2025. A solemn procession approaches PETRI. Volunteers carry small coffins. Inside are human bones from the original Berliners, excavated by archaeologists. Each coffin contains a medieval human being, now in the museum.
We're standing here in front of the ossuary, a bone house. And here are the first Berliners who were excavated from St. Peter's churchyard and reburied here.
Eternal rest at PETRI. The stories told by the nameless bones, thoroughly examined, have been recorded in a Book of the Dead.
Sometimes you can tell from the bones whether there was significant strain due to excessive movement, broken bones, and of course you can also see when they had healed. Dental problems, some metabolic problems, nutritional issues can also be identified, and you can learn a lot about the person, although not their name.
The bones reveal something else, too. Time slips away relentlessly, but these native Berliners prove that the city is much older than we thought. In 2032, Berlin will celebrate its 800th birthday, decades too late.
We're celebrating late. We should stick to the official date while realizing that it actually started quite a bit earlier.
At the Museum of Prehistory and Early History, we finally meet an old acquaintance. The ancient Berlin elk, also found while digging in the city's soil. More and more people are becoming interested in this search for the past.
It always involves unraveling a mystery, and that's something that really captivates people. That's what makes this Berlin treasure hunt so special.
High up on the roof terrace of PETRI, there's a view of the center of the German capital, beneath which lies its 800-year history. We now see the young and yet so ancient city of Berlin with different eyes.